This is Norway, where electric vehicles or EVs are everywhere in the first 6 months of 2019. More than half of the new cars sold in the country were fully electric. Tax incentive, driving in the bus lane, and free parking are some of that help. And it has a goal of scrapping all sales of fossil fuel vehicles by 2025. But this isn't a global trend. Take Canada for example. Canadians are buying electric more than ever before, but they still only make up 3.2% of the vehicles sold. In the US, fuel-free cars make up 1.9% of the new passenger vehicle market, and on a larger scale, make up less than 0.5% of the global vehicle fleet. So, why is it taking so long to make the switch, especially given the advance of type vehicles go way back, like way back to 1800s, where the first successful electric vehicle in the US made its debut. Compared to gas and steam-powered cars, they were easy to drive and didn't emit many pollutants. By the turn of the century, they accounted for a third of all vehicles on the road, but somewhere along the ride, they hit a bump. As road got better and cheaper oil was discovered, electric cars just couldn't gain traction even when the price began to soar. They also weren't exactly the most sharp-looking car on the road at that time. When they pulled the plug on its own sleek, futuristic EV1, it didn't seem like electric cars would ever win the race. At least not until a certain Silicon Valley startup known as Tesla, for example, came along with its zero-emission luxury cars look, and then in 2015, it's relatively affordable Model 3, which had people lining up to put down a deposit on a car they hadn't even seen yet. But Tesla still belongs to the higher-end EVs owners, which brings us back to why consumers are still so hesitant to give up gas. Now, let's go to the first reason that occurs for this problem, which is the cost. There's still a lot of knowledge gaps. People don't realize they're gonna save money, which is a key factor. They don't know that it's convenient, and they don't know why it's environmentally beneficial. One local researcher said that initial concern consumers have is the price. The challenge is people look at the upfront sticker price instead of looking at what the total cost of ownership. Most EVs price fall in the $30,000 to $45,000 range, or around 102,000 ringgit to 190,000 ringgit. But many countries offer financial incentive to help bring the cost down, and the cost of the saving made on the field. Based on my research, the cost of electricity is about half the cost of gas or fuel. So for example, if you're spending an average about 5,000 ringgit a year on the gas fuel, and with the EV, we can cut spending half of the price that we make on the conventional fuel cars for a year. So of course, less maintenance as well. No oil changes, no transmission, no muffler, which some argues why some car dealerships are reluctant to sell EVs in the first place. Okay, next is the charging the EV problems. In the first place, charger installation in a home for EV has never been easier because it involves manpower, either from the supplier or the battery manufacturer itself, which of course involves another installation cost and having to wait for the installation date. For EVs owners, we simply need to charge their car at the nearby charging station every day. And the last one that contributes to this problem for electric vehicle or EV is the range anxiety. In terms of charging time or location, well, that depends on the type of car you have, the type of charger, and where you're going. Most EVs drivers plug in their car at home and charge overnight, but for those long-distance drive, a method of 3-level charger are required, which are slowly popping up along highways around the world. For added information, Canada has close to 7,000 charging stations, but according to a 2017 study by a Compare, it still ranks among the worst equipped countries for EVs in the world. So, what's the solution then? In my opinion, the campaign, the subsidies, by the government to encourage people to buy the EV product for the sake of long-term beneficials. Second, consumers need to research about their future planning. And third, the awareness for people to protect our environmental aspect for longer term. Again, for added information, not to judge, but people said the EV itself leaves a far smaller carbon footprint manufacturing. But one researcher studied that most EVs, including the high-power batteries, actually produce a bigger carbon footprint than manufacturing most gas cars. But many experts believe all work will all do lead to EVs eventually. It's estimated that by mid to late 2020s, electric cars will cost the same as internal combustion competitors, and eventually even cheaper as the price of the batteries go down. That combined with a number of engineers, automakers, as the price of battery go down, that combined with a number of engineers, automakers, and policymakers putting a new focus on EV development. 2040 is when you can expect to see more of these cars on the road. By then, 57% of all passenger vehicle sales and over 30% of global passenger vehicle fleet will likely be electric. So that's it for my video for today. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.